It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome Acharya Prashant in this BW dialogue on the Yoga Day, 21st June 2020. Acharya Prashant ji doesn't really need an introduction. He's a spiritual leader, he's a seeker, he's a guru, and he's now an author of multiple books which are being read by millions of people to seek the right path. Acharya Prashant, we celebrate the Yoga Day every year. We go back to our lives. Sometimes we don't incorporate yoga in our daily living. Why should one incorporate yoga in one's daily living?
Because one is not okay as one is. Had we been perfectly all right, there was no need to change anything, bring in something new, or exclude something. And it is not really the body that is not all right. Given the advancements in technology, medical science, and the prosperity we have today, our bodies are probably better placed and we are healthier than we were ever at any point in history. You look at the average age of the human being today. In some countries in Europe, it is going closer to 90 years now. Even in countries like India, it's shifting towards the 80 years mark. We have eradicated so many diseases. We are quite in control of much that is physical. The problem is the mind. Therefore, when we talk of yoga today, it must be yoga of the mind. That which we think of and talk of as yoga popularly are just physical exercises. Much of that does not deserve to be called even the first step of yoga. Yoga has to do with the mind because that is where our problems are, that's where our sufferings are. Is that not true? Are we problemed? Are we troubled because our knees are aching and we have a stiff back? Is that really a problem? And if that is a problem, then medical science has answers for that. Our real problems, I'm not denying that people do have sore knees, but our real problems lie somewhere else. Nobody commits suicide because the knee is bad. Nobody would say that his life has been destroyed by his stiff back. But we all, if we are to really account for the thing that is severely degrading our quality of life, it would be our mental condition. So real yoga has to do with how the mind is placed. Unfortunately, too little emphasis, in fact negligible emphasis is being put on that. So probably the Yoga Day is a good opportunity to shift the focus on the right thing.
Absolutely. A lot of us have stress which may not show up in physical symptoms. And young people are dying. Today morning I lost a 46-year-old young friend. 46. He was absolutely physically healthy. He had heart attack. We lost singer KK. We don't even know what's happening to our bodies because of what's happening to our mind. Right. Clearly, yoga is needed. Now, there are lots of myths around yoga. Can you tell us what these myths are? And while you talk about them, also bust them. Because as you rightly said, we think of yoga as a bodily thing, but it's not. It's about bringing the mind into an equilibrium. And again, we spend much lesser time in nature. So breath is so give us a sense of why is yoga even more important and how can busy executives incorporate yoga in their daily life?
You see, the fundamental myth is that yoga has got a lot to do with the body. In fact, that myth is the biggest obstacle in the way of real yoga. You look at the way yoga has assumed an imagination in the popular culture. The entire iconography around it. And immediately what comes to mind is a fit person in a particular asana or mudra. Now that's good to look at, but that's not yoga. That's just not yoga. As someone who loves the Bhagavad Gita and has been teaching that beautiful scripture since long, you look at Gita chapters 2, 4, 6, 10. Shri Krishna has very unequivocally explained what yoga is. When the mind is adhering steadfastly to what is right, that is the state of yoga. You have to know who you are and you have to act accordingly. You have to be one in unison with that which really matters, and that union is called yoga. Yoga is not about, as they say, the coming together of body, heart, mind, soul, and a few other things as well. And there is just so much meaningless poetry around it that sounds flowery but amounts to nothing. Yoga is simply about the mind remaining constantly riveted to, hinged to what is right. And this union that does not allow the mind to go astray is yoga. It's just that since a lot of our troubles are psychosomatic, when the mind is right, the body is bound to be right. When you know what is worthy to be done in life, then you will know that the body is important, because you will not want the body to take away much of your time and attention, and you will want to preserve your body and keep it right and healthy as a great vehicle that can take you towards your destination. The body will then become a resource for the mind, and the body will consequently be kept all right. So the health of the body is something that is a byproduct of yoga. It is secondary, it is not the central thing. The central thing is that you should live rightly. Now you said, how do we incorporate yoga in our daily living? Now that's not at all the point of yoga. Yoga is not something that you can just somehow fit into your usual daily pattern of life. Yoga has to be the center of your life. Yoga is not something that you bring in from outside and somehow give a place. What is yoga? I repeat, yoga is one's determination to live rightly. Yoga is not something that you use to keep the body fit so that you can continue with your absurd ways. I might be living a very mistaken, a very deluded kind of life, and still I might want to have a fit body, because a fit body allows pleasures of all kinds and keeps away pains of many kinds. And also, given that most of us are terribly body identified, there is an added incentive to be physically fit. Now, that's gross misuse of yoga. I'm into a job or business, that's soul sapping, absolutely. or I'm into some business that involves very meaningless kind of display of body, let's say. But because I want to be all right, because I want to do well in my profession, therefore I use, or rather misuse or misappropriate yoga to serve my purposes. I'll give you an example. Long back I had read that there was this bunch of extremists, and when they were to launch an attack on one of the destinations, one of the targets they had set, they were actually trained in breath control and some techniques of so-called physical yoga, so that they could more effectively, more efficiently achieve their targets. Now, is that what we want to use yoga for? We say we have our own targets in life, and let yoga be utilized so that we can reach our targets in a more efficient way. Now, that's not at all the purpose of yoga. Yoga has to be the center of your life. And what do I mean by that? Yoga has to set the target. Yoga cannot be at the service of your self-appointed target. Otherwise, it's a strange situation. The ego appoints the target and uses yoga to reach the target. That's like, using the greatest kind of weapon for the lowest kind of purpose. The greatest kind of resource, the greatest kind of knowledge for the lowest kind of purpose. Yoga could have been something that potentially redeemed us. Instead, it has become something that is, grossly misused. I said once, you might find it interesting, that if yoga is about physical fitness, then Arjun was probably one of the fittest persons on the battlefield already. It is in fact possible that physically Arjun was better off than even Krishna, because he was the mightiest warrior and the archer of the times. So why did then Krishna have to teach him 18 kinds of yoga? Obviously it was not for the sake of Arjun's physical health. Physical health was already all right. Now we all are Arjun in the sense that physically we are more or less already all right. We should again revisit the physical health data that we have. We are living longer lives, and in fact we are taller now. The average weight of the world has increased. Deaths due to malnutrition are lower today than other points in history. So physically we are doing almost okay. In fact, the physical problems that we have today, a lot of them are attributable to our mental bankruptcy. The problems that we face, for example, due to pollution and all the lifestyle diseases, they are not really physical problems. They are coming because of the mind. So we are like Arjun in the sense that there is not much purely physical trouble. There is not much purely physical trouble, yet there is a lot of trouble. And that trouble is coming from the mind. And that's why yoga is needed, just as Arjun needed the 18 chapters, the 18 kinds of yoga that Krishna taught him. So this myth has to be busted. This misconception has to be totally negated. Otherwise, on the yoga day, you will again have leaders and politicians and everybody who wants to have his share of the limelight coming in front of the camera and displaying a few physical poses and passing that off as yoga. That is not at all yoga. That's a stretching exercise. Or that could be strength exercise without using external weights. You go to the gym, you use iron weights, or you could do the same exercises using body weight. Now, stretching and strength building, this is not at all yoga. I'm not denying the importance of this. Everybody should have a flexible body. Stretching is great. We all must have powerful muscles. So, having a well-toned and strong body is again great. But please, that is not yoga. That is not yoga. Let's not corrupt the very concept itself. And if you will go closely into the psychological aspects of it, the ego has a vested interest in limiting yoga, in actually caging yoga within the concept of physicality. Because if yoga is not arrested within the bodily walls of physicality, then yoga will attack the ego itself, and the ego does not want that. So the ego has played a clever, dirty trick. It has said, yoga is wonderful, yoga is great, and yoga is physical. Now the moment you liberate yoga from these artificial and unwise physical constraints, yoga becomes such a powerful force of life transformation. Then you have to read, then you have to understand. Then you have to go into what Patanjali and Sri Krishna actually meant. Now, that is something we do not want to go into. But we are very happy with having a slim body because it helps in doing whatever we want to do. And that's the evil in it, whatever we want to do. Why do you want to do whatever? Why don't you do that which is right? And yoga is about that itself, doing what is right, not doing whatever. You have ample gurus who will come over and say, oh, you know, you do this and then you can do whatever you want to do. Now, the moment you hear this kind of phraseology, that yoga will help you do better whatever you want to do, I suppose one must run away. Because that's exactly antithetical to yoga. Yoga is not about doing whatever you want to do. It's ego that says that. Not the dedicated, devoted, wise mind. No, that does not come from there. It's, I mean, amazing the ways of the inner mischief maker. We can take the greatest gift given to us and turn it into something that we want to use as almost as an intoxicant, you know, like youngsters who take cough syrups to get inebriated. There is no medicine that cannot be used as a narcotic drug, and that's what we are doing to yoga as well. It's a medicine. Yes, please.
You know, you're saying that we have to do the right thing for the right reason in the right manner. You know, absolutely right intent, and again you're talking of doing the right dharma in every aspect, having the right thoughts, having the right action, having balance in pursuit of even economic benefit in worldly goals, using the right means to achieve the right ends. You know, so means are equally important. If you're right, we are so identified by our name, our body, where we come from. We don't identify as souls. We don't identify as, souls in a body, so to say. So I understand. And let me ask you another question. Today on the World Yoga Day, is there a mantra you already said do the right thing for the right reason. You already said, don't abuse your body, don't abuse your mind. And mind comes from right practice, from doing the right things, balance in life, doing whatever your dharma is, whatever you do, there is the right thing to do in that, doing that. And when your mind, they say when your mind and your actions are in sync, what you say, what you do, what you believe, if all three are in sync, then you have a healthy mind, so to say. You have a healthy living, you have a harmonious living, whatever word you want. You are living to your higher purpose. I mean, what is this fixation with perfection today? So I am a Hindu. I only believe the perfect person is Lord Shiva. Only Lord Shiva is perfection incarnated. Right? So how do we live our life? While it is a conversation on yoga and yoga, you brought in a larger connotation. Doing yoga in what context? Doing yoga for what purpose? No. Hence, give us some thumb rules for living your life then.
You see, that exactly is the point. If you take Shiv as perfection, then there has to be a certain love for perfection. And life has to be a relentless, unending pursuit of that perfection. That which might be unattainable, and the scriptures clearly say so, that it is something that you will never really get to hold or come to touch or really meet in the normal sense of the word. But still, if you just remain devoted to it and pursue it, life will become worth living. Not the attainment. Even the pursuit is sufficient. And that pursuit is something that would anyway happen if your respect for that which you are calling as perfection or Shiv is genuine. What kind of person am I if I venerate Krishna and have nothing to do with what he is teaching? So, and that is not really a policy or an option or a smart trick to play to oneself. You see, the mind is fed up of its follies. The mind is a constant thirst. The mind is always stuck, always challenged, always bemused, seeks more, is not satisfied with what it has, and does not even know what it really seeks. So, going towards that which you are calling as perfection, somebody could call it contentment, somebody could call it Shiva or Krishna, is anyway the only option that you have, because without that pursuit you will anyway never feel any kind of repose or contentment or rest. One would constantly be agitated, one would constantly be dissatisfied with life. And that's not how we want to spend our life. This is not just theory or ideology. This is the fact of who we are. We are born discontented. And because there is just so much agitation within and darkness within, therefore there is no option but to spend life in pursuit of light. That same light that you could call as perfection or Atma or Brahm or truth or Shiv or Krishna or Ram. The name is your choice. But that's an inevitability with anybody who has some sense and self-love. Why do you want to destroy your ears? That's the question we must ask. I mean, one is already not all right, and one is acting in ways that would only further the inner sense of injury and disquiet. Why does one want to do that? There can be no sensible, plausible reason. So spirituality, therefore, is not something that one gets into. Spirituality has to be the only way of life if one is not adamant on self-destruction.
Absolutely. I think on this day, on the World Yoga Day on 21st June 2020, Tuesday, we thank Acharya Prashant for making us think through what we are doing, examining our beliefs and taking the right path. As he rightly said, spirituality is a way of living. It has to be reflected in the choices we make, the means we take to it. And he rightly said, sometimes the mind doesn't know what it seeks. And just being in the moment, being mindful is possibly one way to then get to that path. So we are grateful to you, Acharya Prashant ji, for doing this conversation, which is a benefit to our viewers and readers on the World Yoga Day. And again, look at yoga and yoga in a holistic way, in a deep way, and not just in a superficially, in a exercise or a stretching, activity. So thank you so much. We're grateful to you, and we look forward to doing more conversation soon.
Thank you.
That was Acharya Prashant talking to us about the deeper meaning of yoga and how our actions and thoughts have to be aligned to live the life of purpose. Thank you so much. We'll be back soon with another powerful conversation which ignites the right thought process and hopefully right action. Thank you, Acharya Prashant, and thank you to all of you for watching us. Thank you.
So while we are in the middle of the series on Chandogya Upanishad, just prior to this session, I was speaking to someone on the Yog Divas, coming day after tomorrow. So I thought it would be a good idea to discuss with you all today on the same theme. What is yoga? So we are taking today the Bhagavad Gita instead of Chandogya Upanishad, and specifically the verses devoted to the meaning and significance of yoga. I had done a similar series around 5 years back in Rishikesh, particularly in Rishikesh because it is called the yoga capital, and that was with seekers from abroad who thronged to Rishikesh for the benefits of yoga. Some of these verses I had taken up then as well, but it's been long and it would be great to revisit a few of these today. Right. Chapter 2, verse 49. O Dhananjay, indeed action is quite inferior to the yoga of wisdom. Take resort to wisdom. Those who thirst for rewards are pitiable. Arjun, action is inferior to the yoga of wisdom. So turn to wisdom. And those who thirst for rewards are pitiable. Now what is this action that Sri Krishna is referring to here. You see, the classical debate is between following a prescripted course of action with the intention to achieve some benefits or rewards from it, versus acting out of one's understanding. That's the debate. That's the debate we remain surrounded within and without throughout our life, and that's also the debate within the domain of spirituality. That's also the debate within the Vedic literature itself. How to live. There is a school of thought that says, you know, there are tried and tested methods. You do this and you will get that reward. And it's for the sake of rewards that one lives. And what are rewards? Other names for happiness, pleasures. And because Prakriti is repetitive in nature, therefore certain rules and equations can be culled out from the flow of life. For example, you could very well prescribe it as a rule to your kids, that if you study well and then you get a decent job and then you get married, then you will have happiness. So there is the flow of life, and if you are even half attentive, you will be able to figure out that these kinds of pattern based equations exist there. So there is this school of thought that says that since we know that there are certain actions that bring about certain happiness, why not simply follow those actions? Why not do the things that anyway benefited several before us? Our fathers and forefathers, they were beneficiaries of certain patterns of actions. Do certain things, get certain results. Do certain things, get certain results. Avoid certain things, avoid certain kinds of inconveniences. And that's well known. So that's one school of thought that believes in prescriptions and commandments and manuals for life, operating manuals for life, you know, how to go about this tricky business called life. There is that school of thought. You could call this as very similar to the Purva Mimamsa philosophy. I know that if I put in this kind of input, that kind of output is achieved, so I'll do this. Sometimes the input-output correspondence is not even very fully or logically established, but still you want to do it. For example, if I offer devotion to deities, then they will bless me with prosperity. Now here the input-output equation is not even logical or authenticated, but still you want to do it because you have been told that this kind of equation does exist, right? 2 days a week, if you go and offer fruits and coconuts and service to the deity, then you are blessed with certain things. Do you see the input-output equation? Do this, get that. Now this equation in this case exists just in imagination. Still, one wants to live by this equation and hope to harvest the rewards. Why? Because there are several before me who lived this kind of life. Live a righteous life and you will get punya and then swarg. Live rightly, live morally, live as has been taught and told to you, and you will get swarg. So that equation is there. Do you see the input-output equation? Now, this is one way of living. This is one way of living. Unfortunately, this way of living predominates the mind and the society. Why? Because in this way of living, one does not have to exercise his consciousness. We are inherently and majorly very lazy people. That's called tamsa. We don't want to exercise our brains. We don't want to think. We want somebody else to do the thinking business for us. You think and then you tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's one school of thought, that's one way of life. Bhagavad Gita is a rebellion against that way of living. In fact, Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna very unambiguously states at many points that if you are doing only those things that are mentioned in the Vedas as bringers and harbingers of good results and rewards, then you will never understand what I am telling you, Parth. If your mind is fully occupied with and has been corrupted by the Vedic notions of do this and do that, then my knowledge is not for you, Parth. Similarly here, I was looking at it, it was so beautiful. Tragunya Vishaya Veda Nistragunnyo Bhavarjun. All that the Vedas talk of is within the three qualities of Prakriti. Tragunya Vishaya. Vishaya is subject, Tragunya is the three properties, Satrajtam, which means Prakriti. So all that the Vedas are talking of, this is 4.45. All that the Vedas are talking of is within the fold of Prakriti. Arjun, you have to go beyond. Nistragunnyo Bhava Arjun. Nistragunnyo. Go beyond the three qualities, which means don't be limited to the Vedas. And the Vedas have been named here specifically. And Krishna names the Vedas again and again and tells Arjun to go beyond the Karma Kand portion of Vedas. And this aspect is rarely highlighted, that Krishna is speaking so much against Vedic ritualism in the Bhagavad Gita. No one wants to talk of that. The Bhagavad Gita is extremely incompatible with early Vedic ritualism. Let that be very, very clear. And that's not an inference that I am drawing. That's the very spirit of the Gita enunciated in so many words. I am not reading between the lines. I am not foisting my own interpretation on the Gita. I am not even interpreting. I am talking of direct translation. Are you getting it? Krishna is saying your action has to come not from prescription but from wisdom. That's the difference. That's the rebellion. That's the other school. What's the first school we talked of? That says there are tried and trusted formula. And why do you want to reinvent the wheel? When prescriptions and established formulae exist, why do you want to use your thought and consciousness and discretion? There is no need. Just follow the tradition and the ritual and you'll be home. That's the beauty of the Vedas, you see. They begin with ritualism, but they flower into something far beyond ritualism. And it's a testimony to the all-inclusive nature of the Vedic corpus, that which contradicts a huge part of the Vedas is a part of the Vedas. You see, 80% of the Vedic verses are devoted to just this. How to please that God, how to offer sacrifices, how to chant mantras, this kind of stuff. 80%, by count, by volume. And then comes the remaining 5-10%. 10-15% are aranyaks, which you could call as something middling. Then comes the nectar, the cream, which is the Upanishads. And Gita too is an Upanishad. Gita is classically placed alongside the Upanishads, called the Gita Upanishad. And then these come right at the end. Sometimes they are not even within the formal body of the Veda. Many a times they are, sometimes they are not. And they bring then the discourse to another level. They open up another dimension of wisdom, far removed from ritualism. There is no monolithic pattern of thought here. There is the great confidence and audacity to go against oneself in the pursuit of truth. Yes, we said something, but now we have come to another thing that is much higher. And without any inhibition, we will include this newer and higher thing we have come to. We will not say that 80% of the journey we have been following one ideology or one school of thought. So now, when we are coming to the fag end, how can we take a U-turn or how can we climb to another height? No, that's not what the Vedas do. The Vedas say, yes, we said something. For a lot of our length, our thickness. But now we have come to something more beautiful. And we are not ashamed. We are delighted. We will keep this new thing and we will call it as Vedanta. We will say, this is the summum bonum, the absolute height. And we want to tell you from where it came. It couldn't have come had we not started from where we did. Therefore, we are not going to hide that either. We are going to keep both. It's a great display of our honesty and commitment to truth. We are not going to hide anything. Yes, there was a time when we used to worship fire. And now we have come to a point where we say, what fire, what air, what food, what water. These are just sensory appearances. I want to go into the senses, and when I go into the senses, I want to say, no, far from the truth, far from the truth. There was a time when fire was the biggest reality for me. And now I look at fire and I say, far from the truth, far from the truth. I have put fire to fire. Gone, finished, reduced to ashes. I get it. So why did then the rishis keep both, the Purva Mimamsa and the Uttar Mimamsa? If they knew that the valuable part was contained only towards the end and was quite succinct, they could have kept only that much. Why? It's like a great research paper where we are taking you through the entire journey of the research process. Why do we hide that? There is no need. Because anybody who will begin on this kind of inner research expedition will invariably begin from a deluded state and will have to pass through a lot of dark places. Before you reach that height, you will have to negotiate so many valleys and curves and crevices and whatnot. I want to tell you the entirety of it. I want to tell you how I reached the Upanishads. Otherwise, you will think the Upanishads just dropped from the heavens. Otherwise, you will start saying that the Upanishads are a result of divine blessing. Otherwise, you will start saying, oh, these are revealed books. They do not come from one's hard work and commitment to truth. They are a result of blessings of some Almighty God sitting somewhere in the heavens. The rishis didn't want that to happen. So they said, no, we are showing you the entire process through which we came to the Upanishads ultimately. Obviously, we are gifting you the Upanishads, but we are also gifting you the entire recipe. We are not just serving you the delectable thing on a platter. We are also training you in the recipe. We are also telling you how someone with such modest beginnings could come to something as extraordinary as the Upanishads. Now that will be helpful because you too are modest. So I am telling you that from a fire worshipper, how you can come to Brahma itself. You too are fire worshipper. What does it mean to worship fire? It means to worship the material. Aren't you all worshippers of the material itself? Somebody is worshipping money, somebody is worshipping food, somebody is worshipping something else. To worship the elements of nature is to worship the material, is it not? And the Vedic literature starts off from nature worship, and that is materialism, is that not? When you worship nature, is that not materialism of a very ordinary kind? We all are materialists. If we worship rain, the god of rain, the god of fire, the god of tempests, and that's just materialism. So from that one comes to the Upanishads. The Vedas are telling us the entire story without hiding anything. From their humble beginnings, they come to the greatest place possible. Now don't try to distort history. There are people who do that, don't they? When they become something, they want to glamorize their past. The Vedas do not permit that. So they have very nicely documented the past in the sense of the process that resulted into the Upanishads. So they have not left you with the scope to do any mischief. Otherwise, if at age 70 you become something, let's say the president, then you want to declare that even at 40 you were great, even at 20 you were divine. and at 15 you had become enlightened. That's a favorite passion with anybody who becomes something. They mold the past in the form of the present so as to secure their future. Is that not what they do? You have reached a certain point in the present. So what do? In the light of the present, you suitably modify your past, which is just a story. It's an imagination you're cooking up, with an eye on the future, so that this kind of distortion, this kind of manipulation can help you achieve something more pleasurable in the future. That's a very common story. Is that not what we do? There used to be these official bards. In Hindi we call them bhand. What was their purpose? Kings used to keep them. When somebody would ascend to the throne, after that, it was the duty of the bard to compose great poetry in service of the king. Great poetry. And some of that poetry later on becomes history. And you start thinking, oh, this is the way that king actually was. No. That is poetry officially commissioned. You have been appointed to construct my past so that the future may know me as somebody else. The Vedas are way beyond this kind of insecure nonsense. The Vedas say, we will tell you how we thought. That's the beauty of the sages, and that's what makes a rishi different from a king, a raja. A rishi and a raja are very separate levels. The raja is ashamed of himself. The rishi is beyond all shame. He will very clearly tell you, I come from very humble beginnings. I'm just like you. Just as you are deluded today, once I too was. And I'm recording it. I'm putting it down officially so that nobody can later on ascribe divinity to my process. My process is a very human process. And if my process is not human, then of what use am I to you? Then you can at most worship me, but you will never be able to travel the path I did. You have to know that you and I are one. That your weaknesses are my weaknesses. That your body is my body. That I face the same kind of insecurities, troubles, dilemmas, temptations, fears that you do. And now I want to tell you how I made my way out of all, not just out of all these, in the middle of all these. With all these remaining as they do to any common mortal, I still made my way through them to the distance that I came right to the Upanishads. And if I can make my way through the darkness of inner ignorance, son, you too can. That's the entire message of the Vedas. You too can. See where I am starting from. And with all due respect to the Vedas, a lot of the verses are very, very ordinary. And the greatness of the Vedas lies in the fact that the rishis included them. We do not want to hide anything. If we passed through this in our spiritual journey, we will document this. We will be very dishonest if we tell you just the Upanishads. It will be both dishonesty and disservice. Because if we tell you just the Upanishads will not remain very useful to you. They will not serve you. So we are telling you the tale of the entire journey. See, we passed through a lot of superstitions also. We even passed through belief in witchcraft, believe me, before we could come to the Upanishads. This is what we had to experience. So son, if today you find yourself in the middle of a lot of muck, don't be disheartened. One day we were just as deluded as today you are. But we still made it. And if we made it, you too can. Don't be insecure, don't be demotivated, don't be ashamed. Before the great dawn of the Upanishads is the deep dark night of ritualism, blind beliefs, illogical thought and superstition. You have to live through that night. You have to survive. Just survive. Sometimes survival is enough. Don't allow yourself to die. Die another day. Every time you feel like dying. Let's keep it for another day. And if you can postpone it repeatedly, a moment comes when you find the first rays striking through the sky. Suddenly, the darkness starts reducing. Suddenly, there is visible proof of advancement. But you will have to live through the night, face all the agony and the darkness and the loneliness and the disappointments. You will have to be alive and awake when it dawns. Are you getting it? So, have we gone astray from the verse? Action is quite inferior to the yoga of wisdom. You see now what action is? What is action? Action is the prescribed kind of action, ritualistic action. What is yoga of wisdom? Your action has to be one with the truth. That's yoga of wisdom. Let wisdom guide your action. That's the yoga of wisdom. That's what Krishna is suggesting to Arjuna. And what is the other kind of action? Prescribed action. Now, each of us in each moment has to make this choice. Where is your action going to come from? Is it going to be template based or is it going to be wisdom based? Template does not merely come from rituals and superstitions and traditions. The first and the most tyrannical of templates is the body. The body gives you template based action. Now do this. If you are dishonest, the primary reason is not society. The primary reason is body. The body is not born for honesty. The body is born to survive. And if dishonesty is needed to survive, the body will be dishonest. The fact is, it's easier to survive with dishonesty than otherwise. Do not blame yourself. Realize where your dishonesty comes from. you getting it? No animal is honest. In fact, honesty is a word irrelevant to animal kingdom. Irrelevant. We cannot even say they are dishonest. They are a-honest. They are amoral. You sit with some food here, some grains here, a little sparrow will come and happily sit and take some of your food away. Do you think she is ashamed? Or a squirrel might come, or a rabbit might come. Do you think they know they are stealing? Do you think they are even stealing? It's not stealing. It's the way they are. It's the way they are. Morality does not exist there. Are you getting it? So, the body with its template does most of what we think we do. It's not the consciousness that does what we do. It's the prescription that comes from the body. And after that, we have several other prescriptions as well. Mother, father, teacher, so much. The entire lesson is contained in just this much. Action is quite inferior to the yoga of wisdom. Full stop. That tells you how to live life, that also tells you what yoga is. Everything about you must be united with the highest point within yourself. That's yoga. What do you eat? What do you wear? Where do you go? What do you say? Let that be united with the highest point within. That's yoga. Are your words coming from the highest center within? Your thoughts, your ideas, emotions, your relationships, your goals, desires, your acceptances, your refusals, where are they coming from? Let them be united with the Krishna within, called Atma, or pure mind, or no mind. You could put it either way. That's yoga. So, we could simply say, Krishna is saying, consciousness is higher than prakritik inebriation. When he says action is inferior to yoga of wisdom, what he is saying is, prakriti is inferior to Atma. Prakriti is inferior to Atma. For you, not in any absolute sense, for you. Who are you? The thirsty consciousness. For you, Prakriti is inferior to Atma because it is not Prakriti that would quench your thirst. You would receive salvation, satisfaction in Atma. Therefore, for you, Atma is superior to Prakriti. That's the entire point, simplified. Getting it? Take resort to wisdom. Those who thirst for rewards are pitiable. They are pitiable not because there is something inherently wrong with rewards. They are pitiable because they do not get any rewards. Those who thirst for rewards are pitiable because the so-called rewards only deepen their thirst. The so-called rewards only make them even more miserable. The reward that you need is understanding. And if you do something without understanding, how can the reward of this blind action lead to understanding? That's what bothers us, besets us, turns us crazy. We do not know. We do not understand. This lack of understanding is behind all our neurosis. Something happens and we do not know why is it happening, what is happening, what did I do to deserve this? What do I do? Where do I go? Who am I? We do not understand, so we suffer. Now, if lack of understanding is our fundamental problem, then how can an action arising from lack of understanding lead to understanding? Therefore, those who thirst for rewards are pitiable. You are starting from the wrong center. How will you come to the right place? It's like a drunkard searching for a de-addiction center in his drunkenness. You want exactly that which relieves you of your present condition. Your present condition is of drunkenness. You want to be relieved of that. You want to be de-addicted. And you want to be de-addicted, so you are drinking all the more, thinking that being more drunken will help you get de-addicted. That's the pitiable condition of the common man. You seek your solution in furtherance of the problem. That's how you live your life. Your problems annoy you. Your problems turn life hell. And the more problemed we are, the more we seek solace in deeper problems. In search of a solution, we just keep sinking from problem to a yet deeper problem. And we keep consoling ourselves that we are on mission solution. You look at anybody, what is it that they are doing? Every single person anywhere in the world at any point in time is solving something, no? Businesses are advised that you should present yourself as solution givers. So a restaurant will say, they will not say that we serve food. They will say one-stop solution to all your hunger problems. So they say, identify the problem and then present yourself as a solution provider. Every single person, whatever he is doing, he is actually trying to get a solution to something. Because we are always in problems, so we are always looking for solutions. The solutions are all nonsensical. The solutions push us deeper into problems, but at least we get the satisfaction and the pride that we are trying for solutions. See, look at the solution I came up with. And then when another problem comes, you at least have something to live for. Otherwise, life would be so inconsequential, people would commit suicide. I have another and new problem to look forward to tomorrow. So suicide postponed. Think of how meaningless life would be for most people if there are no problems. And now you know why the ego mischievously, surreptitiously keeps creating more and more problems for itself. It does not live for the truth. It lives for its own survival. And to live for one's survival makes any sense only in presence of challenges to survival. If there are no challenges to survival, whose survival are you protecting and living for? Therefore, if you are to live for your own survival, it is incumbent, imperative that you first of all create threats to your survival. No? If there are no threats, what is there to protect? If there is nothing to protect, what is there to do? If there is nothing to do, why are you alive? So to be alive, you need problems, threats, challenges. That's what we do all our life. We keep creating problems for ourselves, just so that we can somehow justify our existence. No? When you go to the market, they do not sell you solutions, they sell you problems. If the problem is sold, you will be yourself crazy for the solution, you will buy it. First of all, they convince you that there is a great problem. And then you will beg for the solution and buy it at any price. Do you see this? That's the way of the ego. To keep creating problems so that you can take pride in calling yourself a solution provider. Are you getting it? Those who thirst for rewards are pitiable. Just to live, you are turning life into hell. To live, life must be hell. Pitiable. If all becomes okay, what's there to do? What's there to live for? Whom to curse? Whom to abuse? Yes, question.
Namaskar, Acharya ji. Today, when you are explaining about the Vedas, the ritualistic part of the Vedas and the Vedant, it took me back to my 9th class days, when we used to read Dalton's theory, and then we moved to Rutherford, seeing that there were some problems with that theory, and then we moved to other. Yeah. But at last, we were able to throw that away, like Dalton failed, now Rutherford came, then dual nature came. But with the ritual part of, why did we get stuck there? Why do we see people getting stuck there and not moving to the Vedanta?
Because in science things are objective. Therefore objectivity is easier there. It's very difficult to be objective in subjective matters. This gets old. You bring in something better, you can keep it aside. Can you do that with your friends as you see that they are not maturing, not improving? You find it difficult, right? Because there is subjectivity involved. And if there is subjectivity involved even in this, then you will preserve this as well. Oh, my old mug, my old relationships, we used to sip from it together, how can I throw it away? Do you see this? Attachment, that's one thing. Second, what if it requires a certain merit to sip from the new and better cup? What if you need to be first of all deserving of the new cup before you can touch it? then you will want to continue with the old one, It happens. The father used to ride a Bajaj scooter, and he has done that for 30 years of his life. Now the son gets educated, goes abroad, and buys an electric car, and gets it delivered at home. 1 year later, the son flies down from the US to check how the family is doing with the car, and what does he find? The father is still writing Hamara Bajaj. The car has not done even 100 kilometers. Why? Because it requires a certain merit to drive this new thing. And the father is just too happy and too accustomed to the old thing. The father will have to mend his ways, learn new skills, to be worthy of the new thing. And the ego wants to self-preserve. Father says, I'm used to the old thing. The new thing might be great, but why take the pain when the old thing is still working? Why move to the new thing? It's just that the costs of the old thing are tremendous but hidden. And therefore one does not count them, and one doesn't even want to count them. Some of them are invisible costs, some costs are visible, but you just ignore them. You keep sucking in the poison, the polluted air, as you ride with your old scooter. And it does not become immediately visible that you are inching closer to cancer every passing ride. With every subsequent ride, you are inviting a little more of death in your life. But that is never documented. That never becomes clear. So the father enjoys the luxury of being oblivious to the fact. The father says, oh, all this is new age tamasha, I have nothing to do with it. What electric vehicle? You spend some 70 lakhs buying this. Look at my scooter. When Gandhiji was in Champaran, at that time I bought it for just rupees 20. I know there was no Bajaj at that time, but please. That's the kind of thing you have, You are such an idiot. You have spent rupees 80 lakhs on this car. My scooter I bought just for 2 annas. Those were the days. You could get a brand new scooter just for a few paisa. That's the kind of extraordinary, exaggerated, rubbish rhetoric you get, don't you? Now you know why old stuff survives. Just that one day the old thing will crumble in the middle of the road. And dear father will find himself rolling on the road. And the only thing that will save him is that the maximum speed possible to this specimen of a scooter is 8 km per hour. So even if he rolls on the road, it's not really deadly. He survives. And when he survives, he says, why I met this accident? Because foolish youngsters like you are driving new cars at high speeds. That's why I got this accident. Look at my scooter, it never exceeds 8 kmph. That is in 4th gear. And that's how all the nonsense and ritualism survives. And you also remember, once father took grandmother to pilgrimage, Kailash Mansarovar on Bajaj. That was when Aurangzeb was just about to die. That time it happened. So there are fond memories, Your dadi loved the ride so much. And if it was good for your dadi, how is it not good for you? What do you think you are? You're some superstar? You think you're bigger than your dadi? Your dadi didn't come from you. You came from your dadi. Okay? So mind your language, hold your tongue. Who are you? Today you have become so big, you are showing me this new electric vehicle by the name of Vedanta Technologies. Keep this aside. Hamara Bajaj. You want to understand why anything happens, just look at how things happen in your home. You want to understand what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, just look at what is happening between your father and mother, or your father and the neighbor, or between you and your brother, or between anybody and anybody. What you call as systemic is actually very personal. There is nothing called systems, there is just consciousness, and consciousness is personal and human. You want to understand anything in the universe, just see how your mind works. And you will understand the very, very clear basics of anything that is happening anywhere. There's nothing complicated here. It's all very simple if you can look at the self. And that's the reason why they say that the self-realized person is left with no complexes or secrets or mysteries. Nothing is a mystery to him anymore. He looks at the entire world and he sees a very dull uniformity in everything that is happening. The bird is chirping, the river is flowing. It's one and the same thing. Superpower is going to nuke another country. It's just the same thing as the python swallowing the rabbit. It's also repetitive, so dull, so pattern-based, so formulaic. Why to pretend something new is happening? There's nothing new here. It's also boring. And therefore the life of the commoner is so dull, so dreary. Spirituality is in some sense the science of constant excitement and youthfulness. Now, excitement not in the usual nonsensical sense of the word. Excitement in the sense of not being dull, not looking bored, not looking already dead. You look at the faces of most people, if they just close their eyes, you will say, oh, take him and cremate him. It's just that the eyes are open, so you are helpless. You don't want to, but you have to declare him alive. Just let him close his eyes. And you will say, oh, this corpse is lying here since 5 days. Why doesn't somebody cremate him? Spirituality is the art of coming alive. Otherwise, everything is so repetitive. What is happening today was happening 10,000 years back as well. What's happening in your house is happening in the neighbor's place as well. What you did yesterday, you are repeating it today. What's the point?
You use the word dull uniformity, Acharya ji. Dull uniformity. So how does it make it exciting to watch a dull, as you said that, the spiritual man is able to see that everything, there's a dull uniformity everywhere.
There's just a dull uniformity, so I don't want to be a part of this dullness. The moment you say I don't want to be a part of the dull repetitiveness, something new opens up. But that cannot happen if you remain a victim to Prakriti. All that Prakriti can give you is a dull and repetitive life. You become father once, then again, then again, then again, then again. Women bear 10 kids. They used to do that till a few decades back. And every time they pretend something great is happening, something entirely new. What is new? It's just the same as having periods every month. What's new? Oh no, something great. Where is that newness? Where is that excitement? It's for want of a better word that I am using excitement. Do not think that I mean that teenager kind of excitement where you go to a pub on weekends and get into a brawl and puke all over the place, and not that kind of excitability. Mind you. When I say excitement, I mean the liveliness of consciousness. A consciousness that is looking forward to the real thing and is energetically, vigorously moving towards it. That's what I'm calling as liveliness. Not nonsensical jumping about on the dance floor. I have nothing against dance. It's just that our dances too are very, very dull and repetitive. Now do this, now do this, now do this, now do this. What is there? What are you doing? I'm learning music. What exactly are you learning in that? Patterns, patterns, patterns of sound. No, but that's called... Hello. That which you will create will be dull. Will be dulled by time. So create something afresh every moment. Now that's a great responsibility and a great joy. So great that we are afraid to bear it. Once a while, you can create something, don't deny. Your forefathers might have created something wonderful once upon a time. It's easier to just take it forward. But to create something anew, continuously, it's first of all very demanding. Secondly, more importantly, it subjects you to the intensity of a joy that is unbearable. Does it sound strange? That kind of joy is an inner nuclear explosion. You don't survive. One goes crazy. Tiredness, that is a part of the creative process that we can somehow bear. Because we are used to laboring. We labor through life. But the joy that comes with a youthful life, that is just too much to bear. It shreds us apart. Go back to that. And a nuclear explosion continuously in your heart. You're not left alive. That is the intensity of that joy. You don't want to bear it. And that actually does happen, you know. Forget joy. Give too much pleasure to somebody, he dies. There was an experiment conducted. Some rats were taken. And they were trained that if they push a button, it activates the orgasmic center in their wave, in their brains. You push that button, and by way of some electronic connections or by way of a chemical injected into their body, it was ensured that the moment they push that button, they get an orgasmic feel. So there were many rats that were put in that place and that button was there. Tell me what happened after just a few minutes. All of them died. Why did they die? They just kept continuously pushing the button. They died. That's the reason why you want to avoid joy. You will die. They died in the physical sense. You die in the psychic sense. That's the difference between pleasure and joy, no? They had too much of pleasure, they died in the physical sense. But if you have too much of joy, you die in the psychic sense. That great death is at the center of spiritual attainment. You want that death. You want that death, but the ego does not. Therefore, you avoid joy. Therefore, you will find the faces of all these ritualists typically very long. You look at their faces, dark, dull, gloomy, long, sullen, dreary. I'll run short of words to describe their faces, but I can see those faces very clearly. Template-based faces. You know those faces, right? Serious. Serious without substance. Honorable with hollowness. Serious without substance and honorable with hollowness. A very hollow honorability. A very shallow seriousness. Nothing to that, just nothing to that. All this is nothing but avoidance of joy because joy kills. And they are so afraid they want to keep surviving in their rotten psychic sense, in their old selves. Take a deeply egoist person to an occasion of joy and just look at his discomfort. He will be totally off. He'll feel deeply threatened. Where have I come? Danger, danger, danger. There is a moment of joy. Ping pong, ping pong, ping pong. Now you know why the oldies turned enjoyment into a crime. Do you see how much of shame they heap on you if you are found joyful? Have you seen? That's typical of the moralistic mind. You find somebody enjoying, and that's the worst crime he can commit. Have you not seen that? And I'm not talking of oldies in the sense of old by age or body. The oldie could be as well just 22 years old. The oldie could be your wife or husband. The husband is an oldie and he finds the wife enjoying. And now he buries her under a huge heap of moral indignation. Have you not seen that? All that you care for is your own happiness. You bitch. See how happy you are. How dare you be happy? Not that I am advocating shallow pleasures and happiness here. Please don't quote me wrongly. But have you not seen this happen? We want to go into that. We want to see what is happening and we want to understand the relationship it has with ritualism and the continuation of dead stuff since centuries. The new brings joy with it. We want to be secured against it. The only way you can maintain a relationship with a few people is by being as dead as they are, or at least by pretending to be dead. Don't you know that? You sit with Dadiji, and if you start guffawing and laughing, the relationship is as good as gone. There you have to be long-faced. And if you start weeping there, then the relationship is reinforced. You sit with Dadiji and you say, yeah, life is hell, Dadi. Now you can have a conversation. But if the first thing you utter when she asks, so how are things, how is life? The first thing that you utter is, oh, all is hunky-dory, I am doing great. And nothing could be better than how things are. How's life? Couldn't be better. The moment you utter this reply, the relationship snaps. And when I say Dadiji, she need not be 80-year-old. She could be as well your 25-year-old girlfriend. You are away, she calls you up. And how dare you say, oh, I am doing great. What is it you are supposed to say? If he is not missing her, then she is dissing him. Finished. We do not even know how skillful we have become at this art of inner manipulation. We do not even know that we do it. Even kids, they learn this. Don't be too jovial or joyful in front of Dadi. She will not like it. 4-year-olds, they know this. You're not supposed to be happy in front of certain people. And if you keep repeating this practice for too long, it gets into your bone marrow. Simple joy is the only reason one can stay alive. Basic wit. The fun that is there in everyday occurrences of life. But that cannot be there if you are afraid and repetitive. Salvation or Brahma or Atma might be the worthiest target, but it's just too far away. How do I survive today? Today, the only thing that can keep me afloat is the fun in this moment. And when I say fun again, don't get me wrong. When I say fun, I do not mean, you know what. It has to be a certain liveliness, a certain lightness. If your face is such that even a buffalo starts weeping looking at you, then why are you alive? And when I say face, I do not mean that there is something wrong with your genetics, just the expression you carry. Have I come too far from the question? I don't think so. We hate life so much that we keep practicing death throughout our life. And then we say, oh, one day death will come. You are practicing it every moment. Tell me honestly, what in you is alive at all? How dare you say you are alive? Everything that is life affirmative, you have disdain for. Is that not so? You are simply contemptuous towards everything that is life affirmative. The only thing that you can do with some pleasure is go to death. In that there is some pleasure, yes. India had become very, very sick, very old. It still is, though there are some green shoots of youthfulness and revival today, but still. There is a reason why this land became the most miserable land on the planet. I don't know how people talk of India as the Vishwaguru or something. You have to first of all look at India as the sick old man of the world.